What's up, everybody? We're checking out Eternal Strands. Eternal Strands is the first game from a brand new studio called Yellow Brick Games. You'll be dodging, hacking, slashing, slinging spells, and peeling armor off of various enemies, not in a sexy way, for roughly about 45 hours or so. At least that's, in my experience, it was 45 hours. What you get in this game is a excellent story, fully voice acted dialogue, and just great writing in general. You'll notice that Bryn's main gear setup is a sword and shield, a bow, and a Monster Hunter style two-handed sword. It's slow and bulky, but it has a high damage output, and to me, it seemed like the most effective way to hack at the Colossi. And either by accident or on purpose, you'll notice that while you're running around, you can collect a variety of elemental variants for each weapon type. Paired with your weapons, you get kinetic, fire, and frost magic. Add water and heart, and Bryn is essentially Captain Planet. However, since Bryn doesn't have a group of truant teenagers to hit her with a can-do attitude and words of encouragement when the going gets tough, you're going to have to upgrade her magic. You do this by completing the epic hunts, which is essentially just harvesting weaves from the Colossi on the different maps. Some of these are mandatory, others are optional. I would recommend doing as many as you can tolerate, just because by doing these, you unlock specific abilities in each category of magic. Here are a few that I wanted to highlight. There's a little fire dude that you can summon to fight alongside you for a bit. Once it takes too much damage, it'll explode, but it creates kind of like this AoE effect that if anything's around, like whatever kills it will get damaged by this thing blowing up. I summoned this thing a ton. I highly recommend it. Next is like this frost type, like tanky armor with these gnarly ass fucking ice knife hands. It's super insane looking, and I really dig it. However, I didn't use this like a ton. It made getting around the map a little cumbersome just because of how slow it was, which makes sense for it being ice armor. However, it will also explode once you take too much damage, creating this frost AoE. And lastly, most importantly, and my favorite unlock in the game, is this kinetic wind tunnel type thing that you can angle pretty much however you want, and it'll just launch you across long distances. This ability single-handedly cuts down so much time in getting stuff for your companions, general resource gathering, fighting the Colossi, and just getting around in general. Love this addition. A resounding chef's kiss to the devs. Moving on to the setting. After the opening cutscene, Bryn and the band set up in this main camp / hub area. This is your jumping off point for everything in the game. Your main story, your companion missions, your epic hunts, and your little side tasks. And this is where you progress the day, afternoon, and night cycle. This is also where you craft gear, talk to your companions, swap out your equipment, and upgrade each of the companion areas to get permanent buffs. The buffs range from getting access to higher level upgrades for crafted gear, increased tonic quantities, higher level weed magic, and more inventory slots. You'll also be able to select more resources if you die, so that way you can pull them back to the camp. You unlock maps as you progress through the story, and then you access those maps through a loom gate. Each of these areas are made up of a random big bad colossi and a smattering of common enemies. Some of them are unique to that specific map. Most are shared essentially in every other map. Also, you'll see a random weather effect that ranges from clear, drought, flash freeze, and miasma. Clear is the layup. It's obvious. As for the others, though, drought basically means that everything is super hot, and any fire magic or anything that's on fire spreads way faster and way easier. Flash freeze is also kind of obvious, but essentially what this means is that there's big ass chunks of ice just all over the map sporadically. And essentially, if you loiter too long, it'll damage you and it makes it harder to get around in general. And lastly, miasma. This shit is something you should just avoid entirely. If you see it when you hit that loom gate menu, just don't do it. It's not worth the headache. Just fast forward to the next day and hope that you get a good roll and you get what you need. Like you get the colossi you're looking for or whatever. You get the enemies that you're looking for. Just do not do it. It is such a hassle. Bounce back and forth from biome to base enough times, and you're introduced to the true haters called Surgeborn. This edition adds some interest to the smallish pool of enemy variety for a bit. However, the enemy fatigue sets in pretty quickly once you fight everything a few times. Okay, here's what works. It's an amazing story. The game has strong characters, and each of those characters have really interesting development arcs. The voice acting and the soundtrack is great. Companion missions are a bit fetch questy, but are worth it ultimately for the resulting dialogue and the heartstrings pull. The crafting system is very detailed. I really enjoyed seeing how each resource affects the stats and the look of each piece of gear. The dying system was a great addition and was really appreciated. As long as you have at least one of the specific resource that you want, you can use that to change the look and texture of the gear. It was nice to have Bryn look all tough during the end of the campaign, with being able to dial in my preferred aesthetic. Acquiring the variety of blueprints for the new gear was enjoyable to a degree. There is essentially a full set of gear to collect in each map that offers a different buff, like bonus armor, bonus elemental resistances, increased max magic, or faster magic regeneration, etc. Now here's what doesn't work. The climbing feels like it could be fleshed out a bit more. It's fine, but it did feel like it needed to be a bit more accurate during like more intense situations. Enemy variety feels like it's lacking a bit, mainly seems more like quantity over quality in most cases. The colossi / epic hunts are an interesting aspect of the game. However, the iffy at best climbing makes it frustrating to fight them and complete the harvest steps. This one admittedly is a bit of a niche one, but I noticed the frostbow, like it has a cool enemy tracking special attack. However, it falls apart once you're fighting the Surgeborn. I'm open to it being user error, but in my experience, once I stripped away their armor, the tracking ability of it just seemed to stop working. Like it would just fire in a bunch of random directions. Like because any given map can include fire or frost enemies, it would have been nice to be able to switch gear as needed while you're exploring. I mean, it could have been another camp upgrade or something. Maybe not armor, since there are a ton of options, but there are only so many weapon types. Also, it just adds an extra step of unnecessary preparation before you hit the loom gate. Like you could be set up to explore a certain type of map variant, but the colossi is the opposite element, or vice versa. So now you either have to say fuck it and deal with the potential consequences, or you have to back out of the loom gate and decide whether you want to pursue another task or skip a day for a better weather result, which ultimately just drags out playtime. And lastly, my biggest gripe with this game, and if you watch my Twitch VODs, you would know this already, is the fucking stamina bar. This thing was the bane of my existence the whole time that I was playing this game. Like, stamina is the main thing. It's the common thread of so many core elements to what your character does the entire time. So the fact that, at least in my experience, the only way that you can manipulate the stamina bar is to find first and craft an entire gear set to then be able to extend out your stamina bar just a little bit. Like, that seems like a huge misstep to me. And I really hope that they figure this out on the next time around. To sum up a bit, even with my last point included, I absolutely had a great time with this game, and I'm glad I played it. Shout out to Yahtzee of Fully Ramblebatic, and I'll echo the same sentiment that he had, and I'm paraphrasing a bit, so you should go watch his review. But basically, it's a game that a budding studio puts out to let the industry know that they understand the assignment. Personally, I'm hoping that this was successful enough that Yellow Brick is able to make a sequel, or at least make a new IP that builds and improves on the foundation that they've created with Eternal Strands. If you have a Game Pass subscription, download it. If you don't and you can afford it, you should definitely buy it. All right, that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Ready? Let's do this.